Oh, Flash.
No substance.
So today's top 5 is the top 5 Latin actors. Got to give some Latinos some love since it is hashtag Oscar so black and white. No Latins. no Latins in there. No Latins nominated. Except for Guillermo del Toro. But that's about it.
But just by last name only.
By last name only. Oh, that's awful. That is so bad. How could you say that? It's true. All right. So there's a lot of great Latin actors out there. Have a lot of them been nominated? Unfortunately, no, not really. But there are some really solid ones. So today we're going to talk about the top 5. All right, give me yours. Go first.
All right. First one, Latino actor. I'm going to go with my boy, Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo.
Now, let me tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
This guy has not been schooled in anything.
Because Machete don't take.
This guy has not been schooled, and these are actors who I think are making a difference. I'm not talking about big blockbuster names that, money behind it. This guy, he was in prison.
All right.
Wanted to clean up his life.
Yep.
Became a counselor.
Yep.
He was on the screen helping someone who's going through recovery. And they're like, hey, you look like this guy who could play this scene. And that's how he broke into the acting scene. He wasn't a professionally trained actor, so he used his misfortunes, he used his past in a good way. And he goes in, you can't say he's the best looking dude in the room. Sorry, don't beat me up.
Damn. But you go that route.
So I'm just saying, it's not like because of good looks that he was made on camera. He just kept on plugging away, little roles until he carried into something else.
Right. And he had probably one of the best quotes that I've ever heard him say, anyone say, and he said, I would rather aim for the stars and miss than aim for the gutter and make it. And that was like, wow, that really hit, and you're right, he did the small roles for Robert Rodriguez, From Dusk Till Dawn, Desperado. Yeah, he actually technically played Machete twice. Yeah. Spy Kids and Machete, but not the same characters.
Well, so in
and Navajas, he was Navajas and Desperado.
Desperado, yeah.
So basically, all his characters are Machete.
Yeah, all his characters are Machete. All right, number 4. Another one of my favorite actors. I'm gonna go with Michael Pena. Michael Pena, my primo.
That's a good one.
Michael Pena. This is another guy. He was not trained. He just wanted to get into it, and
he was not trained.
No, he was not trained in acting. He didn't go to acting school.
Okay.
He didn't have aspirations. He later on said, "You know what? I want to try it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it." And he's very authentic. And every role that he brings in, he's just.
Watch my favorite movie is.
Well, thank you. So he brought a lot, and he just keeps on. He's another actor who's willing to try different roles, not just the shtick of being the funny guy. Some movies he's really funny, which in off camera apparently he's one of the funniest people. People are always commenting how they make him. He makes them laugh. It just brings a lot. So yeah, my boy Michael Pena.
And if I remember right, and T, you can correct me on this, he's probably the only Latin in the MCU.
True.
If we don't count Doc Ock, yes.
Yeah, in the MCU, he's the only Latin. And with another great thing about Michael Pena too is that he's got so much range, and Terrence mentioned End of Watch, but when you look at what he did in Crash, and he had some really powerful scenes in Crash, especially when with the daughter, when she was shot with the blank or whatever. Or blank, right? So that performance that he did in Crash was just absolutely amazing. So yeah, I agree 100% with you. Number 3.
I love this guy's movies. Javier Bardem.
Sugar.
This guy. First time I realized who this guy was. No Country for Old Men.
Absolutely. Amazing performance.
Yeah.
Well-deserved Oscar for that.
And so then his roles just kept on. He's another actor who's ventured into different roles. I don't recall, and I was going through...
It's a movie.
He really hasn't done comedy, but that's not his...
Hey, it was Scarlett Johansson and Penelope Cruz.
But yeah, I'm going to go with Javier Bardem.
He lost me with the blonde hair in Skyfall. Sorry. Number 2!
It was a toss-up, and I'm going to have to throw these two guys in there because these are just classics.
Okay.
First one, I'm going to go with Antonio Banderas.
He had to make the list.
He had to.
Okay. Tell me why, though. Tell me why you would put Banderas. Okay, aside from Desperado, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, tell me why.
Okay, he was when he was in what's the movie about the mercenaries? The old guys.
Assassins?
No.
Assassins.
Well, that, but the other one with
Expendables.
Expendables.
Okay.
In Expendables, he was actually pretty funny. Every scene he was.
I mean, the whole thing with Puss in Boots, he showed his comedy range.
Yeah, no, I just mean.
Again, art with Puss in Boots.
I didn't mention Puss in Boots intentionally.
And that is actually one of his top geriatrics.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, go ahead.
So he's done numerous movies and a lot of small movies that people had never heard of.
Okay.
There was one where he was a plastic surgeon where he changed this one guy into a girl and then started sleeping with this girl.
Dude, secretly, he really wanted the dude, but you know what? I can't do that. So let me just make you a girl.
There was another movie with Meg Ryan that he did, and he was older. He was a carpenter. He's just done a lot of little movies that I'm always impressed.
What's his name? Jesus in that movie.
Jesus.
Hey, Zeus.
It was Juan.
Hey, Zeus. Mount of Olympus. Oh, wait.
That was
Mount of Olympus.
number 2.
Number 1.
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio great pick. Traffic, Usual Suspects, great pick.
Sicario.
Never seen it.
What?
And you call yourself Latin.
All right, here's my Latin card.
Yes.
It's green, by the way.
It's good.
All right, so go ahead. Why Benicio del Toro?
He has ventured into every category. He's a very serious actor. He can really pull it off, but he does comedy really well as well. And even his freaking
Puss in Boots, though.
even his Heineken commercials are kind of funny.
His Heineken commercials are hilarious.
Yeah, it's just he's willing to put himself. He doesn't take himself serious, even though he could be a very serious actor. And he. What's that?
The drug movie he did?
Traffic, yeah. Great. He got the Oscar.
Oh man, Traffic was unbelievable. He was he just carries this presence about him and when he's on the scene. Even in the Marvel comics, I hate the character, but he's like he puts himself in there. He's all throwing himself in every scene. You know
when he's the collector?
Yeah, the collector. I mean,
so he's actually in the MCU and Star Wars.
That is true.
Hey, there you go. There's your Latin in the MCU.
There we go. Shout out. Thank you, Benicio.
Got two, all right.
And you almost equal black people in there. It was like
almost.
If you don't count Black Panther.
We got Black Panther and we got Falcon.
No, you got Black Panther, the cast of Black Panther.
Yeah.
Sorry, very.
All right.
We got Ant-Man's roommate who's also a criminal trying to get him. So we don't even have that going. Come on.
Number 5 for me is Cheech Marin, baby. You know, when you're in the 70s and you're a comedian and you want to translate to film, I mean, he was Richard Cheech Marin was one of the ones that.
But what has he done? What has he done lately?
Well, you just mentioned, you mentioned Banderas. He worked with Robert Rodriguez. He went back on stage with Tommy Chong to do a revival of the skits from Cheech and Chong.
By the way, which he never wanted to do for decades.
Yes, and then he finally did.
And he's like, I need a paycheck, man. I got no roles.
No, I don't know. I don't think that's why he did it. I just think he did it. Really, honestly, I think he did it for Tommy Chong more than anything. But
I agree with her.
So anyway, but Cheech Marin paved the way for a lot of people. I think that without him, there's a lot. Him, Paul Rodriguez. He was Don Johnson's.
He was Don Johnson's sidekick in that.
In Nash Bridges, yeah.
So, and he was like, I need money, guys. Look what I'm resort to. Nash Bridges.
Anyway, Cheech Marin is number 5. Number 4, Andy Garcia. Man, Andy Garcia is one of the most underrated Latin actors ever. And even though he hasn't done as much, but when you look at his body of work, even when he played Sonny Son on Godfather 3, going into Internal Affairs. Well, actually, Internal Affairs was first, and then. He just did what did he? Oh my God, the movie that Hoodlum. That's the one. And that's the one that I loved him the most. Was when he played Lucky Luciano in Hoodlum. That was I just loved him in that movie.
I get you.
So Andy Garcia, number 4. Number 3. 9 times 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is it? 54. Edward James Olmos. Edward James Olmos. One of the most iconic Hispanic actors I have ever seen. When you start out with, things that he did with Stand and Deliver and American Me, and going into the Selena role, getting an Oscar for getting an Oscar nom for Stand and Deliver, but venturing off the TV. Hell, he's in Battlestar Galactica. That means Latins are in the future. So
Trump didn't get rid of him.
that's right.
Yeah. The wall didn't work. We just flew over it.
Yep. Well, there's no gravity in space. There's the wall. Oh, shit, for my chancla, go get it. All right, so Edward James Olmos, number 3. Number 2 is also Benicio del Toro. When you look at what he's doing, going into different genres, you mentioned The Collector, going into the comic world, then going into Star Wars and doing the science fiction, coming into the realness and the grittiness of drug trafficking, drug war with Sicario. I mean, that guy is just, he's just all world, man. He can do it all. So
and he's not afraid to venture into those things. He doesn't.
Absolutely not.
He dives into every character, and I've yet to see him in a film where I'm like, he didn't perform.
To me, there's some similarities between his DJ character in Last Jedi and Finster's character, his character Finster in The Usual Suspects. There's like certain similarities.
There is.
Finster in space. Fuck it, I'll take it. Anyway, so that was my number 2. Benny's awesome.
This happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It wasn't him.
Number 1 for me, and I don't give a crap what anybody says. This is just for me, and that is John Leguizamo.
I knew you were gonna put him on your list.
John Leguizamo is one of the biggest influences in my life, next to Bruce Lee, Richard Pryor, those guys. But John Leguizamo is like really big to me, and you want to talk about range? That man can freaking. When you look at stuff that he did when he did that movie Empire, when he did the Columbia movie that he did
He played the boxer when he was undefeated.
Undefeated. When he does those kind of dramas, then Benny Blanco from the Bronx, Carlito's Way, you can't miss that.
The clown from Spawn.
The clown from Spawn. Matter of fact, you know what? Me and T always talk about how much Spawn needed to be rated R. Well, John Leguizamo made PG-13 enjoyable. He was freaking awesome. Method to the freaking max, eating the damn pizza with a bunch of maggots on it. He is freaking the truth. But then you go into the stand-up that he's done, man. The Mambo Mouth, Spikoramas, and all of these, Freak, which Spike Lee directed. He's just the truth, man. And just one of the best, one of the most talented men I've ever seen in my life, ever. Okay. So that is my number 1.
All right.
Honorable mentions.
It's funny. Andy Garcia. I didn't choose Andy Garcia. He didn't make top 5 because he hasn't carried a movie. He hasn't been the one.
He was in Internal Affairs. He carried Internal Affairs. Richard Gere was like...
Okay, how long ago, too, was this?
He carried Godfather 3.
No, I'm just saying...
Yeah, he carried Godfather 3.
How long ago?
Nobody spits in a hand like him.
How long ago? He really look at his body of work, like you say, and it's not enough where he's like, wow, this guy really has carried a movie. This is the one that people come see, right?
But Danny Trejo carries a bunch of movies.
He's been the star of more movies than Andy Garcia.
Okay.
Hey, you got a point.
He was killed by Michael Myers. He was in the Michael Halloween movie. I'll give him that.
All right. Another one, John Leguizamo. Honorable mention.
Basically, Manny's list.
Yeah. Honorable mention.
My top 5 is your honorable mention.
Well, because they haven't done anything worthwhile. They play this. Well, I'm just saying, from what he's done, from
Banderas has too.
They weren't trying to. That's something. Banderas has done way more.
What has Banderas done for me?
Oh my! We already discussed it. Now we're talking about John Leguizamo.
Okay.
All right. John Leguizamo really hasn't done as much where I'm impressed where, wow, he's really done this. He's kind of slipped off the radar. There's no longevity. Okay, now we can say, well, neither of these guys, you're right, but they're up and coming. That's why I'm choosing them, because they're up and coming. Now these guys, the ones that I mentioned, besides Danny Trejo, they're not playing the Latin card in every movie. They're just playing themselves, playing whatever role. They just happen to be Hispanic in that movie. They just happen to be Latin in that movie. They're not using their heritage as, okay, I have to play this character because I'm Latino. I have to say it. It's just the same reason why I don't find George Lopez funny, right?
And you talk about characters. I mean, John Leguizamo right now is in. He was doing Broadway. He was doing Broadway. He's doing a lot of theater work. A lot of the guys that you mentioned.
Yeah, I read so much about that in the news.
He's a very articulate man here.
I'm just saying, this is mine.
Yep.
This is mine.
Wait.
And he did John Wick.
Yeah, he was the freaking tow truck driver.
Hey.
There you go.
Yeah, he was a mechanic.
I'll take it.
He was a mechanic.
All right, go ahead. Anyway, go ahead. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. I had Jesse Borrego because he's from San Antonio. Graduated here in San Antonio, so I got to give him some love there. Javier Bardem, I had him as well. Alfred Molina because Doc Ock he's just freaking the best. Luis Guzman. That's the chubby guy that does the freaking
You're just naming whatever Hispanic actor was.
Hey, but that guy's really good. He's in everything.
Did you have a role? Are you Hispanic?
Yeah, they're on my list.
Michael Pena, Diego Luna for Rogue One. Give him that one. And of course, I have Banderas too. So.
Yeah, and you're Hispanic? You haven't been in a movie? You're on Manny's honorable
list,
mention.
baby. What? You play dishwasher? Come on. Honorable mention.
What was the kid with the fro and he was in the motorcycle movie, Biker Boys?
Man, you went way back.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised you didn't put him on your list.
All right, take us home.
Hey guys, don't forget to follow us, like us. Tell us your top picks. So if, maybe there was someone we missed.
Yeah.
Maybe your list is completely different than ours. We really want to know.
And if you're a Hispanic actor, let us know so you can be in our honorable mention.
That is true. You'll be at least you'll be on 50% of the list.
You're an idiot. All right, for Terrence in the back and asking where the hell she's at, I'm Manny.
I'm Art.
And we'll see you next time. All right, ready?
Let's do it.
Already recording.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Oh, Flash.
No substance.
So, looking at Oscars, forget I do that again.
I started with so much good energy too.